You did not quit on the morning you missed. You quit at 9 that night, on the couch, in the exact moment you agreed with the voice that said this always happens. The workout cost you nothing. That agreement cost you everything. And tonight, somewhere, another man is holding that same trial against himself. This time it might be you. His name is Chris. 3 weeks ago, he drew a line. 5 in the morning, the gym, every day, before the world could reach him. And for 3 weeks, the line held. He stopped flinching when the alarm went off. He started catching his own eyes in the mirror again. For the first time in years, his word was starting to mean something to the one man who had stopped believing it. Then, today happened. A client call that swallowed the afternoon. A drive home in the dark. A gym that was closed by the time he passed it. Nothing dramatic. Just a day that did not bend. Before you hear what he did next, do one thing. Comment the exact sentence your own voice uses after a missed day. Word for word. You will need to see it written down before this video is over. Because at 9 that night, Chris put down his phone and said one sentence out loud to an empty room. 6 words. That sentence did more damage than the missed workout ever could. It is the reason the next 12 hours almost erased 21 days of proof. And you have said it too. This is just who I am. That was the sentence. 6 words, said out loud to an empty room, and Chris believed every one of them. Notice what the sentence is not about. It is not about the workout. It is not about the client call or the closed gym. Somewhere between 6 and 9 that evening, a missed session stopped being an event and became a diagnosis. That is the moment discipline actually breaks. Not in the morning, at night, in the translation. Because here's a fact almost no one will tell you. One missed day has never destroyed a single man's discipline. Not once. Not in Chris, not in you. Do the math on what a skip session actually costs. One workout out of hundreds. A fraction of 1% of a year of training. If discipline were arithmetic, a missed day would be a rounding error. But it never feels like arithmetic. It feels like a leak below the waterline. It feels like the first frame of a collapse you always suspected was coming. And the distance between those two things, between what the day costs and what it feels like it costs, is where months of progress quietly die. So this is the promise. In the next 25 minutes, you will see exactly what happened inside Chris between 9 that night and 6 the next morning. You will see why the real enemy never touches the missed day itself. Why everything you were taught about never missing made you more fragile, not less. And what the rarest kind of disciplined man does in those hours that lets him come back as if nothing happened. Because for him, nothing did. But first you need to meet the voice that handed Chris that sentence. You have heard it too. It has a method, a schedule, and a vocabulary of exactly 3 words. And the most disturbing part is when it chooses to speak. Never at the moment you fail. Always later. Always when you are alone. Always. Never. Again. Those are the 3 words. You always do this. You never finish anything. Here we go again. 3 words that never appear while you are failing. Only after, when the failure is already cold and you are the only witness left in the room. On this channel, the voice that argues with your standards has a name. The negotiator. He is the voice that never disagrees with the goal. He only argues the terms. Later. Less. Lighter. Tomorrow. Just this once. Before you act, that is his entire vocabulary, and it sounds so much like reason that most men obey it for years without ever hearing it. But here is what nobody tells you about the negotiator. When you break a standard, he does not gloat. He changes jobs. The moment Chris drove past that closed gym, the negotiation ended and a trial began. Same voice, new role. The negotiator became the prosecutor. Before the miss, he argues about terms. After the miss, he argues about you. Watch how he built the case. Because he built it inside Chris the same way he builds it inside you. Move 1, he turns an event into a pattern. What happened was specific. 1 client call, 1 closed door, 1 missed session. The prosecutor deletes the specifics and keeps only the shape. This always happens. Notice the word. Always is not a fact about the day. It is a claim about your nature. Move 2, he recruits your memory as evidence. That night, Chris lay on the couch while his mind performed a strange kind of archaeology. The gym membership from 2 years ago, frozen after 6 weeks. The morning routine that lasted 11 days. The book, the course, the running app, every exhibit stripped of its context. Nobody remembers the flu that ended the running streak or the project deadline that killed the routine. The prosecutor does not present context. Context is the defense's job, and the defense never shows up at 9 at night. Move 3. He asks for a conviction, and the conviction is never about behavior. You skipped a workout becomes, quietly, you are not the kind of man who keeps his word. Feel the difference in your chest. A behavior can change tomorrow. A nature is permanent, and a man does not fight his own nature. He accommodates it. That is why the verdict is the perfect crime against your discipline. It does not forbid you from coming back. It makes coming back feel dishonest, like an act, like a man pretending to be someone the evidence already disproved. And here is the detail that makes the prosecutor almost impossible to catch. His verdict does not feel like an attack. It feels like honesty. When Chris said those 6 words to the empty room, there was relief in them. It felt like he was done pretending, like he was being real with himself at last. That is the disguise. The verdict borrows the voice of self-awareness. It presents surrender as maturity. Any man who has ever mistaken that feeling for truth knows exactly how convincing it is. At 11 that night, Chris did something small. No announcement. Nothing he would have called a decision. He picked up his phone and turned off the 5 in the morning alarm. That is what a lost trial looks like. Not a dramatic collapse. An administrative act. 2 taps in the dark. The trial looked over. But in 1985, a psychologist at the University of Washington was studying men in exactly this position. Men who had broken a rule they swore was absolute, and he found something that should not have been possible. He could predict which men would collapse completely and which would return, and the prediction had nothing to do with willpower, discipline, or how badly they wanted it. It came down to a single sentence each man said to himself in the hours after the lapse. Chris had already said his name was Alan Marlatt. He spent his career at the University of Washington studying the men everyone else had given up on, alcoholics and addicts trying to stay clean, men for whom a broken rule did not mean a bad week. It meant losing everything. And in his book, Relapse Prevention, written with Judith Gordon, Marlatt documented the discovery that made his name. The slip did not predict the collapse. 2 men break the same rule on the same night. Same slip, same stakes. One of them is drinking again within a week, worse than before. The other absorbs the hit and returns to sobriety the next morning. Same event, opposite futures. For years, everyone assumed the difference was willpower, that some men simply had more fight in them. Marlatt measured the fight. It predicted almost nothing. What predicted everything was the sentence each man said to himself in the hours after the slip. The men who collapsed said some version of this. I did it because I am weak, because I am an addict, because this is what I do. An explanation pointed inward at something permanent, at something that stains everything he touches. The man who returned said something different. I slipped because I was exhausted at a party, surrounded by triggers, and I let one moment through, pointed outward, at something temporary, at something specific to that night. Marlatt gave the pattern a name, the abstinence violation effect. When a man treats a lapse as evidence about his character, the lapse becomes a collapse. Not sometimes, predictably. Because if the problem is the kind of man you are, there is nothing to fix and no reason to return. The verdict does not describe the fall, the verdict causes it. Now put Chris's sentence on Marlatt's table. This is just who I am, inward, permanent, global. By Marlatt's data, that sentence is not the symptom of a man about to collapse. It is the mechanism of the collapse itself. The prosecutor is not a commentator describing your defeat. He is an engineer building it. Every time you accept his verdict, you are not being honest about your weakness. You are installing it. And in case you think this only applies to men fighting a bottle, a researcher at University College London closed the case. Philip Elaley tracked nearly 100 people through the slow work of building new habits, day by day, for months, in the study that gave the world the famous 66-day average. But buried in her data was a finding almost nobody quotes. When a person missed a single day, The habit kept forming, as if nothing had happened. No measurable damage. None. Hold both findings together for a moment, because they say something almost nobody understands about discipline. The science of habit says the missed day costs you nothing. The science of relapse says the story you tell about the missed day can cost you everything. The day is innocent. The verdict is lethal. You have spent years defending yourself against the wrong enemy. If this just gave a name to something you have been fighting for years, subscribe to this channel. That is what it exists to do, to find the mechanism underneath the feeling and hand you its name. And like tells the algorithm to show this to the next man sitting alone with a verdict at 9 at night. But information has never saved a man at 6 in the morning. That is where it has to hold. The alarm Chris turned off did not ring. He woke at 6 anyway, pulled by 3 weeks of habit, in the gray light, with the verdict from last night still sitting on his chest. And what he decided to do in the next 10 minutes almost completed the prosecutor's work. Not because he stayed in bed, because of the opposite. Because of something that looked, from every angle, exactly like discipline. At 6 in the morning, Chris sat on the edge of his bed and started planning his punishment. He would train twice today, the missed session and the regular one, both heavier than usual. He would wake at 4:30 for the rest of the month. No phone after 8, no coffee until the debt was cleared. Sitting there in the gray light, the plan felt like strength. It felt like the correct response of a serious man who had let a day slip. It felt exactly like discipline. It was the verdict, wearing training clothes. Look at the logic underneath the plan. You only repay debts that exist. You only serve sentences for crimes. The moment Chris began designing his punishment, he was agreeing with every word the prosecutor had said the night before. The miss was a crime. The crime proves the weakness. The weakness must be beaten out of him. Compensation does not argue with the verdict. Compensation signs it. Marlatt saw where that road ends. His patients did the same thing after a slip, swearing new rules that were absolute and brutal. Twice the meetings, 0 tolerance, not one exception until the end of time. And the harsher the new rule, the heavier the next fall. Because a standard born from punishment is not designed to be lived, it is designed to hurt. A standard designed to hurt will be broken, and when it breaks, the trial reopens with fresh evidence. You have run this play yourself. The wasted afternoon that turned into a vow of monk mode by midnight. The missed run that became 2 runs tomorrow. The blown week that produced the perfect plan, drafted in shame, abandoned by Thursday. Every one of those plans carries the same signature, built in the emotional aftermath of a failure, bigger than the standard it replaced, dead within days. And every death hands the prosecutor another exhibit for the next trial. At 6:10, Chris caught something. The plan in his head had a narrator, and he recognized the voice. It was the same voice from last night. The voice that said, "This is just who I am," was now saying, "And this is how you will pay for it." Same voice. New costume. A prosecutor at night. A warden in the morning. And that recognition opened a crack wide enough for one question. The only question that matters in those hours. What if the day was guilty, and I am not? Sit with what a man does when he believes that. Nothing dramatic. That is the entire point. He does not repay because there is no debt. He does not double because there is no sentence. He does not redesign his life at 6 in the morning because nothing about him broke. He returns to the standard at its original size, treating the miss as what the data says it is, a day. So Chris put on his shoes, drove to the gym, and at 6:40 did the most ordinary workout of his life. Same weights as Tuesday, same sets. On the drive over, he felt the itch, add a set, go heavier, earn it back. He let it pass. The itch was the verdict's last grip, and ordinary was the rebellion. No ceremony on the way in, no ceremony on the way out. Walking to his car at 7:30, the streak was still broken. His record now read 21 days, 1 miss, 1 return. And here is what no perfect streak can ever give you. Perfection only proves the conditions were good. A return proves the man holds when the conditions are not. On this channel, we call the record a man keeps with himself, the self-trust ledger, where every promise kept is a deposit and every break is a withdrawal. A return after a miss posts the rarest deposit in the book, evidence that your word survives your worst days. That is the only evidence that ever made a man trust himself again. But be careful with this morning, because it is easy to misread. Chris got it right by instinct, once, with a crack of insight and some luck. Instinct does not survive contact with the next failure or the one after that, when the trial runs longer and the evidence cuts deeper. The men who rebuild instead of restarting do not improvise the hours after a miss. They run a protocol. 4 moves, in order, decided long before they are needed. The first one takes less than 60 seconds, costs nothing, and is the exact move most men refuse to make, because it feels like letting yourself off the hook. In a moment, all 4, the protocol has a name. We call it the recovery window. The idea is simple to say and rare to live. A failure does not destroy the process, leaving the window does. The window is the stretch of hours between your miss and your return, and everything inside it is decided in advance, in cold blood, on a calm day. Remember what you learned about the trial. The prosecutor owns those hours because the defense never shows up. The recovery window is the defense, written before it was needed. 4 moves, in order. Move 1, the attribution statement. The same night as the miss, out loud, in under 60 seconds, you name the specific cause and you acquit the man. I missed because a client call ran long and the gym was closed by 8. The day broke. I did not. That is all. And most men refuse to say it because it feels like making excuses, and they would rather stand in the fire of their own contempt and call it honesty. So understand the difference once and for all. An excuse changes tomorrow's plan. An attribution changes nothing about tomorrow. You are not pardoning the miss. You are indicting the day instead of the man. Marlatt's data is blunt about this. The sentence you speak in those hours is the single variable that separates the men who return from the men who collapse. 60 seconds. Say it to the empty room, because the empty room is where the verdict was going to be read. Move 2, the minimum non-negotiable. This is the smallest version of your standard, and it is defined now, before you need it, never in the moment. 10 minutes instead of an hour, 1 page instead of a chapter, 3 lifts instead of a full session. Hear the rule that governs it. A smaller standard chosen in advance is a system. A smaller standard invented when the work begins is a negotiation. That distinction is the entire difference between adapting and quitting slowly. Planned adaptation is decided by the man you are on a strong day, with clear eyes, for the days that will not bend. Emotional renegotiation is decided by the man you are at 9 at night, mid-trial, with a prosecutor whispering the terms. Same, smaller workout, opposite futures. The size of the standard was never the point. The author of the reduction is Move 3, the deadline. The window has a clock, and the clock is not your mood. Your return is the very next time the standard comes due. Next scheduled session, next morning, next page. Write it as an appointment, because a return with an appointment cannot be renegotiated by a feeling. When the voice asks whether tomorrow really counts, whether you should not restart fresh on Monday, the question is already answered on paper, in handwriting from a better day. And know this about the clock. Every hour spent outside the window feeds the verdict. Miss the return once and the prosecutor has a pattern. The window is not a grace period. It is the narrowest bridge back, and it holds exactly 1 crossing. Move 4. The flat return. Same standard, original size, nothing added. Compensation is forbidden inside the window. No doubled session, no punishing extras, no announcement to anyone. You walk back in like a man walking into his own house, because that is what it is. A man who returns with ceremony is still apologizing. An apology is the verdict's receipt. The debt does not exist. Train like it never did. That evening, Chris took 90 seconds and wrote 5 lines on a card. His attribution template. His minimum, 15 minutes and 3 lifts. His deadline, the next scheduled session, no exceptions. His flat return rule, same weights, 0 extras. He taped the card inside his closet door, where the trial usually convened. In the next 90 days, that card would save him 11 times. And understand what the card did not do, because this is where every other channel lies to you. It did not silence the voice. On day 31, sick and sleep-starved, Chris heard the full closing argument again, every word, same contempt. The man who runs the recovery window is not a man who stopped hearing the prosecutor. He hears the argument. He has simply stopped counting it as a vote. The card answers so he does not have to, and that is the whole trick. not a stronger man shouting back. A prepared man with nothing left to decide. 90 days after the closed gym, on a Saturday morning, a man Chris barely knew stopped him in the parking lot with a question. Chris answered in 10 words, without thinking, and then sat in his car for a while, surprised by his own sentence. Because those 10 words are this entire video compressed into a single breath. What he said, and who he had become by the time he said it, comes now. In a moment, all four, the question was ordinary. The man had seen Chris training at the same hour for months, and in the parking lot that Saturday, he asked what everyone eventually asks the consistent ones. How do you never miss? I miss. I just come back before it means anything. 10 words, and the whole machine is inside them. Before an event becomes evidence, before a lapse becomes a verdict, before the prosecutor can translate one broken day into the story of a broken man. The stranger went quiet. Then he admitted something men rarely admit in parking lots. He was 3 weeks into his own routine. He had missed Thursday, and he had spent 2 days deciding whether there was any point coming back. Chris knew the number the moment he heard it. 3 weeks. The exact edge of his own cliff. So Chris did something that would have been impossible for the man on that couch 90 days earlier. He took a receipt from his car, borrowed a pen, and wrote 5 lines. The sentence that acquits the man and convicts the day, the minimum for the days that do not bend, the appointment that replaces the mood, the flat return, nothing added, nothing owed. He handed it over and said one thing. The voice will come tonight. Let it talk. It does not get a vote. Driving home, Chris understood what had actually changed in 90 days. He had become the man from the first minute of this video, not the man on trial. The other one, the one people watch and quietly call not normal, whose consistency looks unbreakable from the outside and from the inside. A missed day here and there, a card in the closet, an empty courtroom. The secret the world keeps looking for in his routine was never in the routine. It was in the 12 hours nobody sees, the most dangerous hours in any man's discipline, where he stopped losing trials because he stopped holding them. Now, finally, look at where this story leaves you, because the couch from the opening scene is not empty. Tonight, somewhere, a man is sitting on it, replaying a missed day, feeling the verdict rise in his chest. This time, it is you, and this week will hand you a broken day. It always does. The difference is that you now walk into those hours armed, say the sentence, keep the minimum, meet the appointment, return flat. The day was guilty. You are not. Chris got a stranger's receipt with 5 lines on it. You got 28 minutes. Same protocol. Next man up. No one is coming. Win the war within. If this video rewired how you see a missed day, here is what to do with the next 60 seconds. Subscribe and hit the bell, because this channel exists to hand you the mechanism behind every war you thought was a character flaw, and the next one is already in production. Like the video so anyone finds the man who needs it tonight, and then the part that matters. Go to the comments and write 4 words. The day does not define me. That comment is not for me. It is your attribution statement, made in public, the first deposit in a ledger you are about to rebuild.